Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that a staggering $220 million, that's $220 million, has simply vanished from your net worth.
Gone. Just like that.
Exactly. Poof. For most of us, I mean, that would trigger an immediate crisis, right? A scramble, or at the very least, maybe a quiet retreat from the public eye.
Absolutely. Total panic mode.
But today, we're taking a deep dive into the extraordinary story of someone who faced that exact financial storm. And in doing so, somehow stood taller. Jessica Alba. You know her, of course, as Hollywood's rising star who commanded millions for films. Yet she transformed herself into this powerhouse entrepreneur, building a business that briefly pushed her personal fortune to $340 million.
An incredible shift.
And then when her company's valuation plummeted, stripping away a huge chunk of her wealth, the sources tell us she didn't just fade away. Instead, she stood taller and fundamentally challenged the world's definition of success. On paper, though, a drop from $340 million to $120 million, I mean, that sounds like an unmitigated disaster, doesn't it?
It really does. And what's truly fascinating here is how most narratives would probably just conclude with numbers fell, star disappeared, reducing this really complex journey to a simple financial headline.
Yeah, the easy story.
Exactly. But this deep dive isn't just about business. It's about a profound belief system. It challenges the very core of how we've maybe been conditioned to define wealth, success, and lasting influence. This raises a really important question for all of us. Can you genuinely lose $220 million and somehow still be winning?
That's the core question, yeah.
So our mission today is to thoroughly explore Jessica Alba's unique journey from Hollywood fame to her pivotal role in leading The Honest Company, a brand built on clean, family-focused consumer goods.
Right.
We'll examine the significant financial downturn she navigated, particularly how The Honest Company lost, over 70% of its value post-IPO by June 2025, which, as you pointed out, dramatically impacted her net worth.
70%, wow.
Our objective is to understand, maybe with surprising clarity, why Jessica Alba continues to hold such significant influence despite those jarring financial headlines. We're going to meticulously dissect her unique approach to money, her career strategy, her surprisingly disciplined daily habits, her deeply ingrained life philosophy, and her masterful approach to crisis management.
Okay.
This is truly a story about what happens when worth is not, and perhaps never really was, measured in millions.
Let's begin by examining her financial mindset, because it really does set the stage for everything else that follows.
Yeah.
When Jessica Alba first launched The Honest Company back in 2011, the prevailing sentiment in both Hollywood and Silicon Valley was one of deep skepticism, maybe even outright ridicule.
Oh, definitely skepticism.
Here was this incredibly successful Hollywood actress, best known for her, undeniable beauty in blockbuster action roles, attempting to muscle her way into the notoriously cutthroat world of consumer packaged goods.
Not an easy transition.
No. Many people genuinely scoffed at the idea. They whispered, "Oh, another celebrity vanity project." Investors especially seemed to view her as like a transient figure, maybe risk-averse, not a serious entrepreneur.
Right, they pigeonholed her.
Totally. But oh, how quickly that narrative shifted. Just 5 years later, by 2016, The Honest Company had defied all expectations, rocketing to an astonishing valuation of $1.7 billion.
Zillion, with a B.
Exactly. That's a staggering turnaround from that initial skepticism, proving that sometimes maybe the loudest critics are simply the ones who haven't caught up to a new vision yet.
And this rapid ascent truly highlights the core of her financial philosophy, which, as you said, wasn't just some clever PR line, but a deeply held conviction.
Right.
She famously told Forbes, "I didn't start Honest to make money, I started it to make change." And this wasn't just a convenient quote, It was a guiding principle that shaped nearly every decision she made, not only when her net worth was soaring, but, crucially, when it plummeted.
That's the key part, the consistency.
Absolutely. Consider this. During Honest's so-called golden years, between 2014 and 2016, when venture capital was pouring hundreds of millions into the company, and she was being hailed as a billion-dollar founder.
Yeah.
She was actually drawing a remarkably modest annual salary under $60,000.
Under $60,000, with hundreds of millions coming in.
Right. This is almost unheard of for a founder of a rapidly scaling unicorn. Most entrepreneurs at that stage would be commanding seven-figure salaries, leveraging their early success for maximum personal financial gain? But not Alba.
Wow.
She viewed money not as the ultimate goal, but as a vehicle.
That's astonishing. Most founders, especially in a booming startup with all that money flowing in, would be looking for much, much more. What does that really tell us about her commitment to the mission versus personal gain, especially when capital was flowing so freely?
Precisely. It tells us that her North Star was, well, it was never a balance sheet, and it goes even further. She actively declined numerous lucrative licensing deals and fast money endorsements that could have added potentially tens of millions to her personal fortune.
Tens of millions.
Yeah, imagine the pressure.
Yeah.
A major fashion brand offering a multi-million-dollar collaboration or a beverage company proposing a huge endorsement deal. These are the kinds of opportunities most celebrities or even, savvy entrepreneurs would jump at in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
Alba said no. Why? Because those deals simply didn't align with the foundational values she built Honest on: transparency, safety, and responsibility.
So the values came first, always.
Always. She viewed money as a vehicle to build trust, to establish better standards in an industry, let's be honest, notorious for greenwashing and kind of deceptive natural claims, not as a trophy to accumulate.
Right.
This mindset, where integrity dictates financial choices, is incredibly rare, especially in the fast-paced world of startups.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Most entrepreneurs, when the money starts flowing in, they scale quickly.
Right. Hypergrowth is the goal.
They push for rapid expansion, market share, bigger valuations, often compromising on quality or sustainability just for speed. But Alba, as you pointed out, did the exact opposite. She slowed down that typical hypergrowth trajectory.
Deliberately slowed down.
Yeah. She deliberately focused on sourcing better, often more expensive raw materials, on tightening product testing protocols way beyond industry requirements, and on painstakingly building a truly sustainable and ethical supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
She reinvested the profits not into personal gain or, flashy marketing campaigns, but directly back into cutting-edge research and development to improve the products and processes.
Exactly. R&D over personal payout.
So what does this all mean for how we perceive financial success? It fundamentally challenges the conventional idea that money itself is the ultimate measure of achievement. It redefines it as a powerful tool, yes, but a tool in service of a larger mission, rather than the ultimate destination.
Right.
This approach, while maybe slower to show immediate returns, builds a deeper, more resilient foundation, it seems.
And that very mindset, that deep-seated belief in money as a means to an end, became critically important, maybe even defining, when the storm hit.
Okay, let's talk about the storm.
So, 2021, the Honest Company went public, valued at around $1.44 billion at its IPO. At that point, Jessica's stake, which was about 6%, was worth over $130 million.
The payoff moment, you'd think.
For most, yes. This would be the culmination, the big financial win. But what happened next is where many entrepreneurial narratives would, frankly, end in failure and public capitulation. The stock plummeted.
Plummeted hard.
Dramatically. A confluence of challenging factors, global supply chain disruptions that made sourcing those ethical ingredients a nightmare, unexpected product recalls that eroded public trust, and rampant inflation impacting consumer purchasing power all hit Honest really hard.
A perfect storm.
Truly a perfect storm. It wiped out more than 70% of the company's value by mid-2025. Her once $130 million stake was now worth somewhere between $25 million and $35 million.
From $130 million down to maybe 25?
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. For many, as you said, this would trigger an identity crisis, a public meltdown. How do you go from being a $340 million mogul, a celebrated entrepreneur, to just another name on a struggling stock chart, with your company's value diminished so drastically?
What was her reaction to this profound financial blow? Did she panic sell her remaining shares, cut her losses? Did she go on a furious media tour to control the narrative, defend her brand, shift blame?
No.
Did she point fingers at the markets, blame the economy, maybe external competitors?
No, absolutely none of that, which is remarkable in itself. She didn't panic sell her stock, signaling continued faith in the company's long-term viability.
Okay.
She didn't embark on some reactive media tour to defend her brand or make excuses. She certainly didn't blame the broader markets or external forces. Instead, she simply stayed quiet and focused.
Quiet and focused.
Crucially, she remained a significant shareholder. And even after she strategically stepped down from her executive role in 2024, she stayed intimately involved in the long-term strategy of the company.
Still involved.
Demonstrating an unwavering commitment to its foundational mission rather than, say, short-term financial recovery. If we connect this to the bigger picture, her worth was never truly, deeply, or singularly rooted in the money.
It seems not.
It was always consistently in the mission. This is the kind of mindset that really separates short-term wealth from long-term influence, being merely rich from being truly valuable.
Rich versus valuable. I like that.
It speaks to a model of money that isn't just about what you personally earn, but what positive change you can enable and bring into the world. Her financial decisions were optimized for profound personal alignment with her values, not simply for increasing her net worth. In a world utterly obsessed with valuations and unicorn status, Jessica Alba's story offers a different kind of lesson, a counter-narrative. True wealth isn't about how much you keep or how high your net worth climbs. It's about how much of yourself, your values, your integrity, you fundamentally refuse to sell or compromise.
That's a truly powerful way to frame it.
Yeah.
And it brings us seamlessly to her career strategy and wealth building, which, when you look closely, was always about choosing a lasting legacy over, maybe, the fleeting spotlight of Hollywood.
Right. Legacy over spotlight.
In the mid-2000s, Jessica Alba was at the absolute zenith of her acting career. She was the quintessential it girl, right? Starring in major blockbuster hits like Fantastic Four and Sin City, commanding multi-million-dollar paychecks per film.
Huge star.
Huge. Hollywood was buzzing about her, wanting her for every rom-com, every action flick. She was, by all accounts, on an upward trajectory to become one of the most bankable stars of her generation. But what did Jessica Alba do at this peak? She made a surprising, almost defiant choice. She stepped away from the relentless demands of a full-time acting career to pursue something entirely different.
A massive pivot.
Massive. The pivotal moment came in 2008 when she was pregnant with her first child, her daughter Honor. Her newborn, just weeks old, broke out in a severe rash after using a popular, supposedly gentle baby laundry detergent.
Ah, the origin story.
Exactly. This wasn't just a minor irritation for Alba. It sparked what she called an existential fear. This deeply personal incident compelled her to embark on an extensive, almost obsessive deep dive into product safety, ingredients, and government regulations.
So it wasn't just a whim.
Not at all. And what she uncovered truly disturbed her, setting the foundational seed for what would eventually become the Honest Company.
And what makes her path so strategically unique and truly insightful is that she didn't rush. Unlike many celebrities who might just throw money at a concept and slap their name on a bottle for a quick cash out.
The easy route, yeah.
She spent 3 painstaking years immersing herself in the complexities of the consumer goods industry. She wasn't just reading articles, she was dissecting arcane FDA loopholes, poring over dense toxicology reports, studying ingredient lists like a chemist.
Wow, deep dive indeed.
And meticulously researching various business models. She identified a colossal gap in the market for safe, transparent, and effective family products. But even with her celebrity, raising capital was a huge uphill battle.
Really, even for her.
Oh, yeah. She pitched her nascent idea to over 50 venture capital firms, and almost all of them rejected her.
50 rejections?
Over 50, their common refrain. You're an actress, not a business person. You don't understand supply chains or manufacturing. They just didn't trust her to execute.
Oof.
But Jessica played the long game, right? Not allowing these rejections to deter her. Instead, she methodically built credibility. First, by bringing on a seasoned co-founding team with serious, established industry credentials.
Smart move.
Very. She even co-authored the company's first product safety manifesto herself, outlining their commitment to clean ingredients. And, in a move that speaks volumes about her hands-on approach, she personally tested various packaging materials and product formulations to ensure they met her rigorous standards, not just signing off on a brief.
So she was truly hands-on, building credibility from the ground up, brick by painstaking brick, despite all that initial skepticism. And this level of commitment extended to huge personal sacrifices in her acting career, didn't it? She literally turned down enormous opportunities in Hollywood to focus on Honest.
Absolutely. From 2012 to 2016, a period where Honest was rapidly building momentum, she famously turned down major acting roles, including a reported $5 million lead role in a major franchise film.
$5 million turned down.
Turned it down. Think about the opportunity cost of that decision for a Hollywood star at her absolute peak. Other actors would have jumped at such a chance.
No question.
Hollywood insiders called her crazy for it. One tabloid even went so far as to dub her the CEO of lost potential.
Ouch.
But what Alba profoundly understood was this. Her acting career, her celebrity, was her leverage. and that leverage had to be protected and deployed strategically.
Interesting. How so?
Instead of quickly burning out her celebrity capital through fleeting, maybe inauthentic endorsements, she strategically funneled it all into Honest's brand identity.
Hmm.
So when a mother walked into a store and saw Honest baby wipes, it wasn't just Jessica Alba's product.
Right.
It was intrinsically seen as a reflection of how Alba herself lived, parented, and believed in safe, clean products. This raises an important question. In a world where celebrity capital is often burned quickly for short-term gain,
Yeah.
what Alba understood was that her unique position was a powerful tool, and that tool had to be protected and wielded for a specific long-term purpose. She funneled it all into Honest's brand identity, ensuring it was seen as a genuine reflection of her deeply held values, not just a superficial celebrity endorsement.
And it clearly worked.
Oh, it worked. By 2016, the Honest Company had raised over $200 million in funding and achieved that impressive $1.7 billion valuation. Jessica still owned a significant stake, and instead of cashing out, she reinvested her profits back into product development and expanding the company's retail presence, demonstrating her long-term commitment.
So what does this all mean for understanding her strategic approach? The true genius of her strategy was her long-term vision and ultimately her impeccably timed strategic exit from the day-to-day.
Exactly. By the time Honest went public in 2021, her personal brand had truly evolved. She was no longer just Hollywood's CEO, but widely recognized as one of the most underestimated founders in wellness, a genuine thought leader in the clean beauty movement.
Underestimated, yeah.
Her 6.2% stake at IPO was valued at around $130 million. Then, in April 2024, after more than a decade at the helm, Alba stepped down from her operational executive role at Honest.
Okay.
This happened amidst significant market volatility and a sliding stock price. But she didn't make a dramatic, scandalous exit. There was no sense of burnout or a forced departure.
No drama.
No drama. She exited gracefully, preserving both her significant equity and her immense credibility. She didn't cling to power or ego. She allowed the company to mature beyond her day-to-day operational involvement, choosing legacy over fleeting hype.
Legacy over hype.
Her wealth, in a profound way, didn't come from saying yes to every opportunity, but from the immense power of saying no far more often. As she once told Inc. magazine, being famous opens doors, but knowing your purpose tells you which ones not to walk through.
Wow. That's powerful.
That may be the most valuable and often overlooked strategy of all.
It truly is. And this brings us seamlessly to her success habits and unique behaviors, which highlight a quiet, almost radical discipline in what is typically a very loud and attention-driven industry.
Right, the contrast is stark.
If you were to conjure an image of a Hollywood star turned CEO, you'd likely picture a life defined by private jets, exclusive red carpet events, high-stakes boardrooms, maybe luxury retreats.
The usual stereotype.
Exactly. But Jessica Alba, her life, as the sources meticulously describe it, looks remarkably, almost jarringly normal. And that, you'll find, is absolutely no accident.
Intentional normalcy.
Behind the Honest Company's glossy brand and billion-dollar ambitions was a woman who very quietly redefined what success actually looked like through daily habits that most celebrities, let alone CEOs, would never dare to adopt or maintain.
Okay, so what exactly does a normal life for a multimillionaire CEO look like? Let's start with the mornings, because they sound incredibly disciplined and far from glamorous.
Indeed. Jessica Alba reportedly begins her day at 5 a.m., not for a glamorous photo shoot or a film set, but for deep solitude and self-care.
5 a.m., wow.
Yeah. She dedicates a full 20 minutes to meditation, often a guided practice, followed by 30 minutes of movement, could be Pilates, a rigorous run, a high-intensity workout.
Okay.
And then, crucially, she blocks out 2 full hours of uninterrupted, focused work before her children even wake up.
2 hours before the kids are up.
Right. During this precious time, she explicitly avoids touching her phone. There's no casual scrolling through social media, no immediate email checking, no diving into the news. It's solely dedicated to strategic planning, thoughtful writing, and reviewing critical documents.
That takes discipline.
Immense discipline. Why does this matter so much? Because it reveals a key underlying mindset. Discipline for Alba is not a performance, it's protection.
Protection. Interesting.
It actively protects her clarity, her focus, and her inner peace from the relentless assault of constant distraction, especially in our current attention currency influencer era. She explicitly resisted building an empire by constantly turning herself into content.
Right, she didn't commodify her entire life.
Exactly. Her looks, her fame, her family, all could have been relentlessly monetized on every platform every single day. But she chose substance over spectacle, choosing to protect her authentic self and her mission.
That's a huge deviation from the norm, especially for someone with her level of celebrity. So she deliberately avoided hypervisibility, even when it could have boosted her brand in the short term. She didn't chase every headline or opportunity for a fleeting viral moment.
Not at all. For years, she was rarely seen at the most high-profile, exclusive Hollywood events that other stars would, queue up for.
Right.
There was no reality show documenting her daily life as a CEO or a mother, no endless stream of selfies documenting every meal, no daily lifestyle vlog showcasing her perfect life.
None of that.
Instead, she poured her energy into building robust internal company systems, everything from the intricate details of product development to the rigorous processes of sourcing, packaging, and regulatory compliance.
The unglamorous, essential stuff.
Exactly. She also focused heavily on employee wellness, pioneering generous maternity benefits and advocating for corporate flexibility long before these became popular buzzwords in corporate America.
Ahead of the curve there.
Yeah. Her social media presence, if you examine it, remained remarkably intentional and sparse. Just enough to keep the brand personal and connected, but never overexposed or performative.
A careful balance.
This deliberate balance between strategic visibility and profound restraint became a cornerstone of her leadership. She wanted to be present and accountable for the brand, but she never wanted the brand's success to be solely dependent on her celebrity.
Right, the brand had to stand on its own.
She famously told Harvard Business Review in 2020, "I'm not trying to be everywhere. I want to be in the places where I make the biggest difference."
And it wasn't just about her public presence. It sounds like she really ingrained herself in the nitty-gritty of the business internally as well, understanding the nuances from the ground up, which is rare for someone at her level.
She did, internally yet honest. Jessica was known for something quite rare among founders, especially those with celebrity status, showing up unannounced.
Really? Just
Yeah.
pop in.
Yeah. Team members have reported her simply popping into product labs just to observe the testing process, sitting in on customer service calls to hear feedback directly from consumers, or even shadowing warehouse teams on fulfillment days to understand logistics.
Wow. That's hands-on.
Totally. And she didn't do it for show. There were no cameras rolling or press releases issued. She did it because she genuinely wanted to understand the business from the ground up, to truly grasp the daily challenges and triumphs of her employees.
Genuine curiosity.
And she also implemented a unique hiring policy. She often read the first-hand, personal stories behind job applications, believing that resumes alone don't show heart, resilience, or unique perspectives.
Looking beyond the paper.
Exactly. Her team was intentionally filled with parents, immigrants, and second-chance hires, not just individuals with Ivy League pedigrees. She once stated, "I want to work with people who've lived real life. That's who our customers are. That's who we need to serve."
That builds loyalty, I bet.
Definitely. This approach fostered a deep sense of loyalty and shared mission within the company. So what does this all mean for how we define success habits? It sounds like she's building a life that profoundly reflects her beliefs, even when no one is watching, even when there's no camera crew or publicist present.
Authenticity through and through.
Despite being worth over $100 million at her peak, she still lives in the same Los Angeles home she bought over a decade ago. Her kids attend regular public schools, and she's frequently seen shopping at Target, quietly, without an entourage, just like any other mom.
Wow. Grounded.
Totally. This isn't just shrewd branding, it's a profound alignment of her personal life with her core values. Her approach is revolutionary in its simplicity, creating a level of trust that no marketing budget could ever buy.
You can't buy that kind of trust.
And this trust, built on her authentic values, is what truly kept Honest alive, even when the stock price fell dramatically. Because customers weren't just buying shampoo or baby wipes. They were buying into a woman who genuinely, verifiably lived the values she sold. They trusted her.
This point about trust is critical, and it leads us directly into her life, philosophy, and decision-making, which were profoundly about leading with unwavering values, not, fleeting vanity or market trends.
Right. Values over vanity.
For much of her early career, Jessica Alba was seen primarily as Hollywood's it girl, the beautiful face, the bankable star, the industry's ideal. But that image, as we know, came with a heavy burden. She was rarely taken seriously beyond her looks.
The pretty face trap.
Exactly. Directors praised her beauty before her talent. Investors questioned her intellect before her ideas, and the media often focused more on her wardrobe than on her words. But Jessica didn't try to fight that perception with louder self-promotion or by conforming to their expectations.
So what did she do?
She fought it by finding her purpose and building something better from the inside out through radical transparency and ethical commitment.
So what was the singular catalyst that truly crystallized this philosophy for her, shifting her path from Hollywood star to purpose-driven entrepreneur?
It all came into sharp, undeniable focus the moment she became a mother. In 2008, while cradling her newborn daughter Honor, she noticed a severe, unexplained rash forming on the baby's incredibly sensitive skin.
The detergent incident again?
Yes, the culprit. A so-called gentle baby laundry detergent that, to her horror, was loaded with hidden, potentially harmful chemicals. What's fascinating here is that this wasn't just a personal moment of frustration. It sparked a lifetime shift, an unshakable resolve.
It became personal, deeply personal.
Absolutely. This wasn't a minor concern to be outsourced. It was deeply personal, stemming from feeling profoundly betrayed as a mother by products marketed as safe. This experience also illuminated for her how often underserved communities, particularly those without access to extensive research or alternative products, disproportionately bore the brunt of exposure to toxic household items.
Mhm.
She didn't just switch brands. She dove deep, not into parenting blogs or online forums, but into complex chemical databases, rigorously studying phthalates, parabens, formaldehyde, and other notorious
The
ingredients.
science of it.
Exactly. She meticulously researched government regulations on household products and, to her shock, realized that most U.S. safety laws hadn't been updated since 1976, leaving countless chemicals unregulated.
1976. Wow.
Yeah. Most people would have just changed brands or complained within their immediate circle. Jessica decided to try and change the entire system from the ground up.
So this wasn't just a business opportunity for her. It was a mission born out of a deeply personal experience, almost a moral imperative. And that mission became the unwavering North Star for all her decision-making, even when it meant going against conventional business wisdom, even when it meant sacrificing profit for principle.
Exactly right. She asked herself a guiding question. What if I could build a company I wish existed when I became a mom? That question became her uncompromising standard, her ethical filter.
Powerful question.
From the very beginning, Jessica refused to launch any honest product that she wouldn't personally use in her own home, on her own children. This was non-negotiable.
That's a high bar.
A very high bar. She consistently passed on opportunities for fast profits, instead opting for rigorous, often expensive third-party testing, which frequently delayed product rollouts. She wouldn't release a product until its flyers could meet her incredibly strict safety standards, even if it meant frustrating investors eager for speed to market.
Patience over profit.
Absolutely. At one point, when the company needed to expand market share, investors strongly pushed her to release a cheaper diaper version, which would have meant compromising on material quality or sourcing. Her response was a firm, unequivocal no.
Just no.
She famously stated, "I'm not going to compromise safety for scale. My kids wear those diapers." That kind of conviction was deeply unpopular in a growth-at-all-costs environment.
Okay.
Some industry insiders called her naive. Others warned she'd never be able to compete with industry giants like Procter & Gamble or Johnson & Johnson, who prioritized volume and price points. But she simply didn't care about their warnings.
Stuck to her guns.
Her decisions weren't made through the narrow lens of competition or maximizing market share. They were made through the unyielding lens of conscience.
And this philosophy, this unwavering commitment to values,
Yeah.
extended beyond just the products themselves, right? It fundamentally shaped the entire corporate culture of honest, creating a ripple effect.
Absolutely. Jessica implemented paid family leave at Honest long before most startups or even established corporations considered it a priority.
Really leading the way.
She became a vocal advocate for working mothers, understanding their unique challenges, and pushing for more flexibility in corporate policies. She even actively lobbied in Washington for stricter regulations on personal care products, using her fame not for lucrative endorsement deals, but to elevate industry standards for everyone, especially the most vulnerable.
Using her platform for systemic change.
Exactly. So what does this all mean for us? Her guiding philosophy was simple, yet revolutionary in practice. You don't have to choose between being kind and being effective.
Kind and effective.
That philosophy carried her through the company's toughest moments. In 2016, for instance, Honest faced multiple high-profile lawsuits over labeling and ingredient transparency. Most founders in that situation would have retreated into silence, issued terse legal statements, or become defensive.
The typical playbook.
Right. Jessica did the exact opposite. She bravely issued public statements, she publicly acknowledged gaps in their processes, and she accelerated internal reforms, even inviting external auditors to review their formulations and supply chains.
Facing it head on. Transparently.
Totally. If we connect this to the bigger picture, her unshakable values were her true compass in chaos. That's not just management, that's profound leadership.
Yeah.
In a world where decisions are often driven by optics, by immediate return on investment, or by relentless stock pressure, Jessica Alba's choices were consistently guided by something far deeper, uncompromising integrity. Profit was never the main plot of her story. It was consistently a byproduct of living by principle.
Principle over profit.
She proved that in an era obsessed with being liked, she chose to be deeply, authentically aligned. And in a marketplace driven by sheer scale, she chose to build with unshakable soul.
That distinction between being liked and being aligned is truly profound, and it ties directly into what we're calling her power thinking and her approach to social influence. Quiet power, loud integrity.
Quiet power, loud integrity. I like that.
Power in Hollywood is typically very noisy, right? It comes with the bright spotlights, relentless press tours, engineered viral moments. But Jessica Alba, through her journey, fundamentally redefined what power looks like. It's not flashy, not loud, but deeply, profoundly trusted.
What's truly fascinating here is her clear-eyed approach to influence. She knew her image had significant weight, but she chose to wield it with intention, not attention.
Intention, not attention. Key difference.
Huge difference. From the very early days of Honest, Alba consciously refused to center the brand around her celebrity status. Unlike many celebrity founders who make their face the absolute focal point, she made the products the undisputed star.
Let the product speak.
Exactly. She often stated, "If people buy Honest just because I'm attached to it, I've failed. They should buy it because it works." This wasn't just modesty, it was a deeply strategic decision.
How so?
Because Jessica understood that true influence isn't solely measured in followers or likes. It's measured in how deeply people believe you, in the moral authority you build. And belief, genuine belief, is built on consistent actions and unwavering authenticity, not just fleeting charisma.
Trust over clicks.
Precisely. She understood that attention is temporary, but trust is earned, and earned slowly.
And part of building that trust and that consistency was her willingness to be accountable, even when it was incredibly difficult and exposed her to public criticism.
Exactly. Even when Honest faced intense public scrutiny like in 2016 and again in 2017, during high-profile lawsuits over product ingredients and transparency, Jessica didn't disappear or hide behind corporate PR.
She showed up.
She showed up, she made herself available for interviews, she answered tough, uncomfortable questions head on. And most critically, she openly admitted where the company had fallen short, where there were gaps in their initial understanding or execution.
Owning it.
Owning it. She told Bloomberg Businessweek, "If we're going to ask people to trust us, we have to be transparent, even when it's uncomfortable." That level of accountability is not only rare among founders, it's rare among public figures, period.
So true.
Her willingness to stand in that discomfort, to own mistakes publicly, became a signature of her leadership. And over time, that consistency owning mistakes, speaking plainly, acting slowly but surely, earned her something no PR campaign, no marketing budget could ever buy: moral authority.
Moral authority. Earned, not bought.
By 2020, as the clean beauty movement exploded and consumers demanded more corporate accountability, Jessica Alba was no longer just a founder. She was a genuine reference point, a respected thought leader. Startups were name-dropping Honest in their investor decks as an example of integrity. And social media creators praised her for walking the walk long before ESG became a widespread corporate trend. Even former critics in the financial press began writing about her as a surprisingly resilient force in consumer trust.
And she didn't just use her influence for Honest. She extended it, building what you could call an ecosystem of credibility, quietly supporting other ventures that aligned with her values.
Indeed. Alba leveraged her social influence to actively support other female founders, sustainable brands, and underrepresented entrepreneurs, often putting her own capital or reputation behind them.
Paying it forward.
Yeah. She became an early investor in Third Love, a bra company disrupting outdated sizing norms by prioritizing comfort and inclusivity. She backed Beauty Counter, another clean cosmetics brand that, like Honest, was fiercely focused on ingredient transparency.
Consistent values across investments.
Right. And recognizing the systemic barriers she herself faced, she launched mentorship programs specifically for Latinx and BIPOC founders, people who, like her, had often heard no for reasons that had nothing to do with their merit or the quality of their ideas.
That's huge.
Here's where it gets really interesting. By 2025, with her net worth around $120 million, she could have easily pivoted to a comfortable life of luxury endorsements, selling lifestyle classes, or simply monetizing her motherhood and personal brand through shallow ventures.
The easy path again?
But Jessica wasn't interested in building a superficial Jessica Alba brand. She wanted to build a genuine, interconnected ecosystem of credibility and lasting impact.
Ecosystem, not just a brand.
And that ecosystem extended even to how she carried herself, even in the smallest of interactions. When appearing on podcasts or in interviews, she rarely resorted to business jargon or over-rehearsed lines. She spoke like a mother, a worker, a problem solver with an accessible, grounded tone.
Relatable.
Very. She asked more questions than she answered. And when she didn't know something, she said so without defensiveness, without ego, a rare trait for someone in the public eye.
Humility.
This raises an important question for all of us. What is power thinking in today's complex world? It's the profound ability to lead without pretending to know everything, to influence not through aggressive proclamations, but through genuine curiosity and vulnerability.
Leading through vulnerability.
Her restraint, in fact, became her strongest currency, proving that less but truer is more powerful than ever. Her relevance endures precisely because she built it quietly, patiently, and authentically, one consistent, value-driven choice at a time.
Quiet, patient building.
Today, Jessica Alba isn't trending every week. She's not going viral on TikTok with every new post. She doesn't drop new products every season with celebrity fanfare. But what she has built, quietly, patiently, is a relevance that outlasts fleeting trends and ephemeral social media buzz.
Substance over sizzle.
She reminds us that true influence isn't about being everywhere or pleasing everyone. It's about being real enough that when you do speak, people stop scrolling, lean in, and genuinely listen. Because in a world screaming for constant attention, the rarest, most powerful voice is the one that speaks only when it truly matters, with the foundation of earned trust.
That's a perfect segue into her crisis strategy and what we're calling her long-term game, how she faced losing millions but kept her core vision intact.
Yeah, the resilience piece.
By 2025, the Honest Company was certainly no longer the Wall Street darling it had been just a few years prior. After going public in 2021 at a $1.44 billion valuation, the stock quickly lost altitude.
Big time.
Significant global supply chain disruptions made it incredibly difficult and expensive to source the ethical and clean ingredients she demanded. Inflationary pressures squeezed consumer wallets, impacting sales of even essential baby and beauty products, and rising competition in the clean consumer space meant the market was more crowded and aggressive than ever before.
A tough environment.
For Jessica Alba, the fallout was deeply personal. Her 6% stake, which had once been worth over $130 million, had dwindled to somewhere between $25 million and $35 million. In total, her personal net worth had shrunk from its 2016 peak of $340 million down to around $120 million.
A massive hit on paper.
Huge. For most founders, as we've discussed throughout this deep dive, that kind of catastrophic drop would be absolutely devastating. A full-blown PR crisis, brand panic, and likely a quiet retreat from the public eye into luxury and silence. But not for Jessica.
Because she was never playing the short game. While headlines screamed about the stock crash and financial losses, she remained steadfastly focused on rebalancing the core mission, on returning to the why.
Back to the core.
She didn't panic sell her shares, which would have signaled a lack of faith and further depressed the stock. She didn't lash out at the board of directors or publicly blame the market for her company's woes, avoiding the typical founder's instinct to deflect.
No finger pointing.
Instead, she began what many observers call her most strategic and mature move yet, the graceful pivot.
The graceful pivot. Tell me more.
In April 2024, Jessica stepped down from her operational role as Chief Creative Officer at Honest. This wasn't because she was quitting or giving up on the company, but because she understood something profound that most public figures and even many seasoned founders never learn.
What's that?
The same ego and tenacious drive that helps build an empire can ultimately destroy it if one doesn't know when to strategically let go.
Knowing when to let go. That's hard.
Incredibly hard. What's fascinating here is her profound recognition that Honest had entered a new, challenging phase one that required operational ruthlessness, intense logistical innovation, and global efficiency to navigate the market.
A different skill set needed.
Exactly. She also keenly recognized that her true strength lay in vision, brand building, and inspirational leadership, not necessarily in the granular day-to-day operational execution required for this new phase.
Self-awareness.
Huge self-awareness. So she stayed on as a deeply committed board member and a significant shareholder, but she freed herself to think bigger. Not just about Honest's immediate challenges, but about her broader legacy and the continued impact she wanted to make in the world.
So what does this all mean for her post-pivot legacy building? It wasn't about a dramatic, attention-grabbing exit. It was about evolving with profound intention, embracing a new role to pursue a larger purpose.
Exactly right. After stepping down from her executive role, her actions clearly reflected this long-term strategy. She quietly began investing in other impact-driven startups across the beauty, wellness, and sustainable technology sectors, diversifying her influence.
Expanding her reach.
She significantly expanded her philanthropic arm, focusing on critical issues directly related to Honest's mission, like maternal health, universal access to clean water, and actively advocating for stricter product safety legislation in Washington.
Still pushing the mission forward.
Always. And leveraging her unique position, she co-founded a wellness fund specifically focused on backing underrepresented female founders in the consumer space, providing the capital and mentorship she herself struggled to find.
Lifting others up.
When you zoom out and look at her trajectory, you realize Jessica never truly lost control. She simply shifted gears, adapting her role to the evolving needs of the company and her own larger vision.
Shifting gears, not losing control.
It wasn't a comeback in the traditional sense. It was a continuation of her mission on her own terms, evolving with intentionality, rather than exiting with a dramatic, attention-seeking bang. This long-term mindset, this inherent resilience, was clearly forged in her early life, long before Hollywood or Honest were even on her radar.
She faced significant health challenges from a very young age, didn't she? Challenges that most of us wouldn't wish on anyone, let alone a child.
Yes, profoundly so. Jessica grew up in a working-class Mexican-American family, and she battled chronic illness as a child, undergoing multiple surgeries before the age of 10.
Multiple surgeries.
Wait.
Wow.
Yeah. She suffered from frequent bouts of pneumonia, ruptured appendix, and tonsil and adenoid problems, among others. She was hospitalized so frequently that she once famously called herself a professional patient.
Builds resilience, I imagine.
Definitely. That early, profound physical fragility taught her a deep-seated endurance and resilience. So, when Honest stumbled, when the stock plummeted, she didn't interpret it as a catastrophic failure, a personal defeat that would define her.
Just another challenge.
Exactly. She saw it as feedback, as another challenge to be overcome, much like her childhood illnesses. She adapted by going back to the core to customer data, rigorously adjusting the product roadmap to meet evolving needs, and intentionally slowing down expansion to refocus on profitability rather than chasing unsustainable growth metrics.
Adapting, not collapsing.
This raises an important question about true entrepreneurship. Real entrepreneurs build for adaptation, for the long haul, not just for fleeting hype or a quick exit. She embodied what investors call a conviction hold. The asset you believe in so deeply, so fundamentally, that you ride out every dip and downturn because your belief transcends mere financial metrics.
The conviction hold.
Jessica Alba turned herself into a conviction hold, not just financially, but philosophically, proving that integrity can be the ultimate investment. She never chased quarterly optics or fleeting trends. She was always playing a 30-year game in what is essentially a 30-second attention span world.
The long game.
As she told the Wall Street Journal when asked about losing over $200 million in personal net worth, "I didn't lose anything I wasn't willing to risk. What I've gained is more clarity about who I am and who I'm not."
Wow. That's perspective.
That's incredibly rare. That's a profound understanding of true power. And that's how you build something that truly survives any storm, any market fluctuation, any public scrutiny. Because Jessica Alba didn't just start a company. She started a movement for transparency and safety in consumer goods. And then she gracefully allowed it to evolve beyond her direct daily involvement.
And let the movement grow
She
beyond.
lost millions in paper wealth, but she arguably kept and even amplified her soul, her integrity, and her influence. She stepped back from operations, but she never walked away from her purpose. And that, you see, is the ultimate long game. Learning to let go of control without ever letting go of your why.
Okay, let's unpack this for a moment and bring it back to our own lives.
Yeah.
We live in a world that is relentlessly obsessed with numbers. Net worth, market capitalization, Instagram followers, quarterly profits.
The metrics we're told matter.
Exactly. And by those very traditional metrics, on paper, Jessica Alba lost. She went from being worth a projected $340 million to $120 million. Her company lost two-thirds of its valuation. Her personal stake in it shrank dramatically. The flashy headlines, the billion-dollar founders' stories, they quietly stopped.
The narrative shifted, externally at least.
Right.
But what if, just what if, we've been measuring the wrong things all along? What if, while the stock dropped, her fundamental values didn't?
Mm.
What if, while the intense public spotlight on her business empire faded, her unwavering standards for product safety and corporate integrity didn't?
Yeah.
And what if, while the world chased what was viral and instantly popular, she quietly, persistently built what was truly vital and enduring? Jessica Alba teaches us something that the richest spreadsheets and the most complex financial models simply cannot explain or quantify.
That true worth isn't ultimately about what you accumulate. It's about what you refuse to compromise. She didn't monetize every single moment of her life or sell her soul for scale. Instead, she built slowly, she led quietly, with unyielding conviction. And she stayed committed even when it hurt, when the headlines were negative and when the financial outlook was grim.
Stayed the course.
And doing so, she provided something far more valuable than a billion-dollar company. She gave us a powerful, living model of integrity and motion. Her greatest achievement in the end wasn't just the successful launch and growth of the Honest Company.
What was it then?
It was becoming a woman whose profound honesty shaped everything around her, from her products to her corporate culture to her personal life.
Honesty as the foundation.
So you can navigate the loss of $220 million and still walk taller than ever. If you've built something fundamental and true, something the world simply can't take from you, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does.
What for you, listening right now, is that one thing, that core value, that unshakable purpose that you'd never trade, never compromise, even for millions? Sometimes the richest, most impactful life is the one you build with quiet discipline and profound conviction when no one's watching.